Sarah, who are your children? I don't need to ask her who your children are because I see them every single day, don't I? I see them more than my children. But who are your children and how old are they?
Lottie, who's 12, and Harry, who is 9.
And they really are here every day, aren't they?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much every day. Not always at the weekends, but definitely during the week.
Did you play tennis when you were a kid?
Yeah. I played, it was always my second sport. I played it in the summer. I lived at the tennis club in the summer and really enjoyed it and made mates.
Did you always have an idea of you wanted to get Harry and Lotti into tennis?
No, not really. It was always a case of I've always supported them doing all sorts of sports, and I wanted them to have a try at tennis. And then they really enjoyed it, so they keep playing.
And it didn't start at Redhill, right? You started at Reigate,
Yeah.
and then came over here for whatever reason, and then they started coming more than once a week.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it started at Reigate for Lottie. We came over here fairly quickly, and then Harry's only ever played here. And yeah, they did once a week. They did a Saturday morning, and they just really enjoyed it. And so they just wanted to spend more time at tennis. And the great thing was, going back about 3 years or so, when they were really first getting into it, was they basically spent one summer here. They did every camp, and they just loved it. So that's where they got the bug.
Because Lottie has now played international tournaments and goes to county training, and is one of the best players at the club, having just turned 12. Harry's winning matches at high level competition as well. I couldn't see Lottie in those groups. I couldn't see that it was going to end up like this. Was there a plan or not? Or was it a hobby that got out of hand?
There was no plan whatsoever. It was just the fact that they absolutely love it. And yeah, it's a hobby that's got out of hand. And they're both, obviously, they're two individuals and different children in how they approach it. Lottie's a bit more serious. Lottie loves competing. Harry's got competitive nature in him, but what he loves is just hitting balls and having fun on court. So they're different in their kind of approaches, but it's all about they love being at the tennis club.
Lottie is now pretty much specialised in tennis, isn't she? Right? She's just playing 15, 20 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Plus comp.
Yeah.
But Harry's doing quite a few other sports.
Yeah. Harry's playing rugby and football during the winter, which means he's not really competing in tennis during the winter, but he's always here, come rain or shine. And in the summer, he's already said that he wants to do some more comps this summer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What? Did you have an idea of how competitions work?
I had no idea.
No idea.
I've taught myself along the way, and I've learnt loads. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes, yeah. Well, the ugly, and the bad is some people's experiences.
Yeah, some people's experience. Yeah.
What? Okay, so where does that start? So Lottie's playing, because it was Lottie that competed first, wasn't it? She's a bit older, so she's playing a couple of times a week. And then I've probably said, like, you should play competitions, like play comps. All I want people to do is play comps, because I feel like having coaching without playing the sport is a bit like Paul McCartney saying, no thanks, John, I don't want to join the band. I'm okay playing on my own in the garage. You know, if you've got the skill, you should showcase it.
Yeah.
I also think kids learn huge life lessons through competing.
Yep.
Thanks for agreeing.
I totally agree. And I think a lot of the comps, and I've seen it with Lottie and I'm seeing it with Harry now, is the experience that they're getting. They're learning loads, not just about tennis, but kind of in their overall development, how to cope with a loss when they've actually played really well. One of the things I find disappointing, and I suppose, it goes with most sports that you see at competitions, is parental pressure for the wins. And for me, it's never been about that, because if it becomes about that, the children won't enjoy doing it. And for me, it's about the experience and them developing, playing different players. I mean, you can see it in Lottie, because she's played so many comps, she's played so many different players, it's developed her as a tennis player.
Yeah, 100%. I know as a coach that I can set up situations, but I can't set up holding your serve at 15-40. I just can't replicate the same conditions. That you need to learn that. Like England in penalty shootouts at football, you've got to take penalties in front of people. You can practice all day in the training ground. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you type in, where's my nearest competition? You probably got the LTA competitions page. Really easy to map and navigate that.
Not.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is really hard.
And you're given a load of lingo like grade 6, grade 5, grade 4, 3, 2, 1, right?
Yeah.
Because grade 1 is the highest competition.
Yeah.
Grade 6 or 7 would be the lowest form of comp. In coaching awards, for some reason, level 1 is the lowest and level 5 is the highest, but they've decided to muck around with that. And then what do you get to? So how do you enter a comp? Are there bullet points?
Yeah, I guess it's just it's kind of learning the rules. So for example, there's different acceptance criteria, whether it's like a grade 5, 6 or 7, or whether it's 4 and above. So it's understanding, like, for example, grade 5 is first come, first serve. Grade 4 and above is based on kind of ranking points and ranking. So you maybe don't need to enter as early, but you still need to make sure that you meet the deadline, and whether the child is in or not depends who else is entered. It's also understanding, like, the tournament organisers really vary in their organisation, their communication. So it's actually also understanding some of the well-run tournaments versus the frustrating tournaments, and kind of the quality of the tournament, I think, is just as important for the children that actually the tournament is well run, because then they have a good experience, than a disorganised tournament with maybe not such good quality courts. But around here, the best place for any child to start, in my opinion, as much as it sometimes might be frustrating, is Croydon High.
Yeah, I agree. I think lots of the kids around here start up at Croydon High. It's about a 20-minute drive, isn't it? And the Peter Cooper who runs those comps, I think, organised and gets them done, doesn't it? And gets people entering, because quite a few comps can cancel, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Peter's very reliable in running a comp at a weekend, so you know what you're going to get.
Yeah. What about the waiting around? So it's not like a sport that lasts an hour.
No.
You don't arrive at 10 and think, I'll be home for Ricardo by 11:30.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Well, I mean, learned that it's typically about 3 to 4 hours for a tournament. So if it starts at 12, you're probably leaving at about 3:30, 4. So obviously it's balancing the time and knowing the time. And even when you're looking at the comp sites and which ones to enter, it's really important to look at the fact sheet, and because in there they put what time it should be starting, how many are going to be in the draw, and other useful information. And a lot of parents I've spoken to in the past hadn't realised, like, how useful the fact sheet can be. So it's just actually understanding the timings through looking at the fact sheet too.
And once you've been there as well, you understand, like, where the nearest high street is, how long it takes you to walk there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you prepare? So if you're taking Harry and or Lotti to comps, what have they got with them?
So, making sure they've got the right food.
Chips, chocolate, stuff like that.
Veg, and things that they like eating. Make sure you've got enough food, because it's actually quite amazing as to how much they can get through when you're typically playing 3 matches at a tournament. For Lottie in particular, it's the balance between water, her energy drink that she likes, and also she has little snacks in her bag, because the matches can be longer, to keep her going. Bananas, and then medical kit. I would always recommend having a few plasters and bits like that.
Especially with your kids, they seem to just bounce on the floor quite a lot.
Absolutely, yeah, and injure themselves along the way. But yeah, sometimes the medical facilities aren't as good as you'd maybe expect them to be. And then, yeah, more than one racket. Um, Sometimes you see, I mean, Lotte breaks strings fairly frequently at tournaments, but even when they're starting out, an unexpected broken string in a tournament can absolutely throw the child. So making sure that you've got a spare racket with you as well.
Yeah, yeah. What about the affordability of this? Because in real life, when you're not a mum and taxi driver to tennis players, therapist, accountant, whatever else, chef, you work in finance.
Yeah.
How affordable is all of this?
I think it's as affordable as you can make it, if that makes sense. In By that I mean there is a perception that tennis is an exclusive elite sport, and you need a lot of money for children to be successful. I don't necessarily disagree with that if you really want to be sort of in the top in the world, but actually you can get good by using the club and just making sure that just hitting loads of balls. Ultimately, tennis development is about the variety, hitting with different players. Here at the Redhill, you've got great facilities. There's hitting walls, there's the ball machine, there's loads of players for the kids to play with. It's just about enjoying being on court. It's not necessarily about the spend.
Yeah, I agree. I think the entry level to tennis is in line with other sports, isn't it? Like groups are 10 or so. The more they play with boom tennis, the cheaper it gets. So, like, if you do 3 groups a week, that's about £6 a group then. Then you can book courts for free. The hitting wall is free. You can use the slinger ball machine. You can get numbers off other parents and sort out hits, because you do that quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In fact, like, both of your kids have made really good friends through the tennis club who don't go to the other
Absolutely.
schools or anything like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Harry's got a birthday party, isn't he? And he's got one of the other kids here coming along to it and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Over schoolmates, right? Over
yeah.
classmates. So yeah, I think my perception of that is that you could play for 15 hours a week for 18 to £20 a week.
Yeah.
And there's not many other sports that can offer you that.
No.
Like
No.
football training sessions, cricket and things like that. Like, you need other people there. Like, a basket of balls and practicing your serve is free.
Yeah, yeah. And my two have done that loads. If they're at a loose end, then yeah, they'll come down and either hit with me, or hit with a friend, or get a basket of balls. And it is about practice, because that brings the enjoyment to a certain extent. So, you don't need to be spending loads on tennis. It's about actually the ability of having the time to be at the club.
Are you still, focusing a bit more on Lottie now, are you still driven by her fun, or are you starting to have plans?
Definitely still driven by her fun, because for me, it's very much about her really enjoying it. Because if she continues to enjoy it, and want to be on court as much as she is and learn as much as she is, then who knows where it's going to go. Um, it, it's not for me really to push her, and that's one of the things that I do find frustrating about tennis in general, and you see it at the comps and stuff, is the pressure that some of these children, aged 10 to 12 in particular, are put under by their parents. I can tell you, looking at competitions, which kids probably won't feature in a year, 2 years,
Yeah.
5 years' time. And I actually find that really sad. For me, it's about the children really, really enjoying playing it, and who knows where it'll go.
I get asked a little bit about, like, burnout. Like, is that kid going to burn out and things like that? And my view is always do as many sports as you can until you get into, like, the later part of primary school. Burnout really exists from the parent.
Yeah.
It's the parent who burns the child out.
Yeah.
The child doesn't want to be here. The child's having a horrible time. Your kids tell you they're having a horrible time because they cry or they push back against you. They want you to shut up and go away. And if you keep forcing it, sometimes we have to play that as a parent myself. You know what's best for them, and you do have to be
find the right balance. Yeah,
pushy a little bit. But Judy Murray, if Andy and Jamie aren't having fun, would call it. It's fine. The kids who burn out are actually the kids with the poorer parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I find.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, or that the parents are trying to live their life through their child, as it were.
Yeah.
And it's not about that either.